prepare yourself.
The opinions of the host and guests on this show are exclusively just that, opinions. That means that they shouldn't be the cause of your state of being offended. Why does everybody get so butthurt?
Okay, let's go. Ready, go!
Welcome to And God Created Woman, where the arguments are necessary for the best make-up sex of your life. Unless you're single, and then we suggest you just go fuck yourself.
All right, we're back at another episode of And God Created a Woman. We're talking about everything all over the place, all adult topics, relationships, sex, faith, male, female energy, all the good kind of stuff. And today we have the Ranting Queen. G is with us today, and we're going to have a discussion that started off in our DMs where we were talking about similarities between us, where you're what are you assessing, like a study to find out how many of us screwed up Catholic school kids have gone down a certain path and everything?
The way I discovered you, I was listening to you talk about your history in Catholic school, and I realized the similarities between you and I, just about our sexuality, how comfortable we are, a little bit how we push the edge. And I was like, I wonder if there is something in common between having to suppress that during Catholic school, being told it's so negative, and how it came out later in life. So I asked you if you'd gone to private all-boys Catholic school to see if that was a similarity.
Yeah, it was. I went to an 8-year Catholic grammar school. Then I was supposed to go to an all-boys Catholic high school, but my parents had paid 3 kids' worth of tuition going to Catholic grammar school. Then we got time to high school, 2 weeks before I was supposed to go to this all-boys Catholic grammar school. We drove past the public schools in my area. It was literally double the size, building-wise, of what the Catholic grammar school was. And my mom went, do you think you want to go to public school? I'm like, I don't care. Whatever, sure. So that was that. Really quick, before we get in the fun conversation today, give everybody a 360-degree view of who you are. And, just general is fine, but we're going to be ranting and raving all about the messed up backgrounds we have and then how we incorporate that today.
Well, I am a social media personality, per se. I used to be a cam model in my earlier years, and then I started getting very political, and that's kind of where I started to gain popularity. And that started to really piss people off. So here I am now. That's
a good word. So I want to know what triggered the going from the ranting, right? Because you rant a lot about social issues. You're on I think what really made me laugh, because we'd been connected on and off. I think I was connected to you 6-8 months ago, but then Instagram does the whole disconnect shit. It really does filter your stuff out. So I saw I wasn't following you, and I started following you the other day again, and I watched you fat shame people, which is one of my favorite things to do. What brought let's talk about this unfair, because there are people going to be listening. You're in shape. You've got the dare I say the bougie look going on. You got a nice plunging neckline going on today for us guys. That being said, how dare you fat shame someone? What was your point for that?
I don't even think I was fat shaming. What I was trying to point out was
fat shaming.
Well, is that these people who are heavier are trying to make everything into a fat shaming. So this person I'd read an article about was on a flight, and they were protruding into the person's seat next to them. And this person was having a physical reaction that they saw, and then had to be moved to another seat. And this person was discussing how hurtful it was for them and how irritated and offended they were by this person's natural reaction, and how that was a fat shame, without taking personal responsibility for the fact that they were literally taking up half of the seat of the person next to them. How dare this human being be upset by being touched by a stranger? So if that's fat shaming, then so be it. Shame on you for being fat.
Can we clarify from the position there that fat shaming is not synonymous with like somebody's size, meaning that there are some big, sexy people out there. Some people would argue that Lizzo is attractive. Yes. I find her vile because of her head, right? Her mind. So
the vulgarity makes her unattractive to me as well.
Yeah, I don't find people it'd be the same. The physical attribute is the first thing that we attack on somebody when it's like the easiest, right? I get attacked. How many women will go, oh, you've got little dick energy. So we know that women go for that first. So yeah, I mean, I'm not opening up with that, but that was something that brought me to you the other day. And then we started talking, and then you're like, all right, tell me your background. What made you kind of sit there and think that my background would have been in Catholicism because of how overtly sexual some of the content I put up is?
I actually just don't see a lot of people like you and like myself. I'm very comfortable with sexuality, but I also have this deep moral code within me. And I feel like I am somewhat proper and put together, but I am so comfortable in these genres of conversation. And I saw you and I went, God, I haven't seen anyone else like that. So many people seem stuck in this one little box, and you're willing to kind of be very fluid between all these different boxes. And that's what really made me reach out to you.
You know, I think I did a post the other day where somebody was calling me a transphobe, and I'm like, have you never not heard my show? Whereas there's a buddy of mine who does another show in Texas, and I've sent him pictures of a transgendered porn star, Chanel Santini, fully clothed. And I said, dude, would you? And he's like, fuck yes. And then I sent him another picture going, dude, would you? And he's like, I don't know. And it's like, so and I have said it a million times. It's like, dude, I'm so fucked up in my mind with the perverted shit I'm into. I don't shame anybody. I just don't like the shit being forced down my throat. So when somebody's and especially to kids, because, I was introduced to porn at a very young age, and that fucked with my head. But I have no hate towards anything. I have hate towards an agenda, if that makes sense. And do you think that that's because that we come from that background of, you get a hard on, you're going to hell, you shouldn't do that. And then we just kind of like let go. And like, what was your journey and experience with that in your background?
I think it kind of helped us get that fuck you attitude that we have on people when they try to tell us what we can and can't think. That's definitely what I've developed over time. I was, went to an all girls Catholic school, went to public schools, was pretty proper, I'd say, sexually. And I was almost modest for many years. But over time, seeing how they've really tried to tell people what they can and can't think of sexuality and other people, that's when I started to voice my opinion. And that's when I started to come out of my box. And when I started to do the online camming and seeing how people express their sexuality, yes, there's lots of things I don't like, some things I don't understand. But I'm actually more interested in learning to understand why they feel that way and why they like those things, rather than telling them that it's completely inappropriate or wrong or they can't have those feelings.
Did you have a significant event? For me, it was the first time I kissed a girl, I was 19, and it was really a joke because the older that I got, there was you're going to remember this, dude. You're not 15 anymore. You're 19. It's going to be an event. And then I didn't have sex till I was 22. And I was a hopeless romantic. I was lost in cinema. I would watch movies like Somewhere in Time, Out of Africa. And I thought that, oh my gosh, I want to marry the first girl I kiss. I had such a hopeless romantic ideology that sex to me was beyond sacred. And when I did finally have sex, and it wasn't with the person that I wanted to, but it was based off of, I'm horny and this woman is just all over me, and it just went through it. I felt this guilt. I'm like, oh my God, this didn't go the way I wanted to go. And I just felt so shitty. And then I think it was after rejection from the woman that I think woman, we were kids, from this woman that I wanted. When I got that rejection, I specifically remember her telling me, well, Dominic, you've only been with a few people. How can you know what life is? So I had this messed up problem that, all right, I need to fuck a lot of women to prove that I'm worldly. And I went off on this huge whoring phase, got involved in the swinger lifestyle. I used to have women come in the bar and pick me up and say, my husband wants you to watch me. And I'm like, well, am I going to get killed with this? So I went hypersexual to try to make up for what I thought I lacked as a man. And then it balanced out over time, but mine was two polar extremes. No sex whatsoever, then fucking whore. So it was.
But that was caused by the trauma.
It was caused by,
yes.
By now you're not good enough.
I feel like so many people, and I hate to say majority, but this is just what I think, that a majority of people's fetishes and sexual, journey is caused by these traumas. So for me, I was statutorily raped as a teenager. At the time, I was willing and ready participant. I thought I was in charge, and I had made that decision to go into that. Unfortunately, my parents found out, and it became a really embarrassing moment that put a lot of shame on me and my family. And looking back now, I see how inappropriate it was, because this person was 19, I was 15. But that was what started it. The trauma of my whole family finding out in great detail how I had lost my virginity. And had that not happened, I probably could have had a more normal experience with sex, because most kids my age were starting to lose their virginity. But now I had my grandmother, my mother, my father in full detail, knowing exactly what happened. And that started me off on this path of shame. And now it was a very big no. And so I started to hide it. That's what caused it for me.
How old are you? What generation are you in?
So I just turned 40.
Okay. So you're Generation X, or you born?
Well,
right.
I'm actually millennial, right on that verge.
Well, you're older.
Yep.
And then what's your heritage?
I'm Italian Irish.
Okay.
My father went to Italy, brought my hot ass mom here.
There you go. There's a lot. So there's a foundation right there. You're older and you have that heritage background that is family oriented like crazy, and sex isn't talked about as much either.
Yes and no, but I also had a very, very handsome, good looking father who loved women. So I also had that impression my whole life. We had beautiful girlfriends, a few wives, and then my mother, who was just a solid Italian foreign woman.
How did that wind up? Did you ever experience guilt when you went, I don't assume you went hypersexual, but you didn't hide it. Did you ever have the guilt of, I shouldn't be doing this?
It wasn't until I think during the time I was doing it when I was younger, I was just trying to figure it out and learning that wasn't love and that wasn't how you get attention from boys. But I didn't know any better because I went from first kiss to losing my virginity. I never had that in between. And again, because of the shame and the trauma of how it went down, I didn't know any better. So I didn't have like a first base, second base, third base. If I met a boy and I was interested, that's exactly where I went to right away.
One of the biggest things we try to have with these conversations is we know that people are fly on the wall listening, right? They're listening, they're watching, and they're trying to find that navigation of, all right, where do I accept myself in this? Where's the balance? You're married, you're in a relationship. A lot of women that I know who are have any kind of background in any type of entertainment, they do that, and then when it's their home life, and answer to your level of comfortability.
Okay.
When it's their home life, like, wow, Tara, I can't remember what the porn star's name was. Tara something rather, almost like a borderline, she looked Filipino, very exotic.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Tara Patrick. Tara Patrick was in an interview once where she's like, yeah, my husband wants this crazy stuff at home. And I'm like, dude, I just did that stuff on set. And I've experienced that where I've, as a retired cop, it's like I've either dated strippers, nurses, other cops, and the more overtly sexual somebody is in their profession, the less they are at home. And it's kind of like, what the fuck? Did you find a balance, or did you sit there and just kind of night and day polarized? This was me, then this wasn't me, now this is me again.
I was never a wild person in my personal life sexually. Like I said, I experimented as a younger girl, but I've always been a very loyal one person type of girl. So when I fell into the sexual realm of entertainment, I was already 35 and already had a child by that point. I'd already lived my life. And that was a whole new part for me, but in no way did it ever cross over. I would go online for my couple of hours. I would turn it off, go downstairs, make my dinner, take care of my child. It never was a crossover. And I think that was because I was older. I wasn't 18 falling into that. And then people always meet me and expect, if they know of that history of me before they meet me, they expect me to be wild and naughty and, slutty. It's just not my personality whatsoever.
But is that a part of your private life with your husband, or are you like, no, that's not me. That's a role I play and that's not genuine?
Even he would say the same thing. He goes, when he sees how people take to me from what they know of me online, he doesn't see that person at all. I am very sexual. I'm attractive. I like people being attracted to me and wanting me, but I'm very proper, and I only let it go in my one moment with my husband.
Yeah, I had a guest on yesterday. We talked about that, where she's a professional during the day, and behind scenes, she's a submissive, and she loves that lifestyle. A lot of people, they can't do what you recognize in me, which is own up to it. I'm professional. I'm business. I have a few podcasts. One talks about business. One talks about politics. This talks about adult topics. And a lot of people have a hard time going, wait a minute, you're a raging Christian who goes to church, and then you come on a podcast talking about other men fucking women, you date this, that. And I'm like, I didn't say I'm perfect. I say that I do not hide who I am in any context. So you know exactly who you are, to give somebody a decision whether or not they want to be involved with me. Do you think that oppressing who we are and not owning it, is it a good thing to protect somebody, or is that kind of hurt who they are moving forward?
Oh, this could go so many different directions. For a lot of people, they can't mentally handle having you be in multiple boxes. And what I mean by that is, like I said, I'm a sexual character on the internet. And then when I start talking about social issues or politics, it freaks people's minds out. They're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I only know you in this context. I can't handle you being in more than one. And that's what you are. You have this Christian mindset, ex-cop, but then you start talking about being in the lifestyle and whatnot. People's wires just can't handle it. And so I personally believe it's better to be completely honest and to acknowledge that people have so much depth. There's so many different types of personalities that you can have within one person. And I'm trying to push that with every conversation I have with anyone I meet, is that you can be strongly religious, have morals, be sexual, be political. But right now, all of society is trying to keep everyone locked in these boxes right now.
How important do you think is that people explore these sides of themselves?
So important. So important. You learn so much about yourself, and some people are scared to do so because they don't know. I think they're scared of what they might find out about themselves. I had a positive experience from what I learned from my time online and learning about people's sexuality and preferences. And I feel bad for people that can't live their truth and have to suppress and hide from their partners, their husbands or wives, what really makes them happy. How sad is that, and how lonely that is to not have a real connection with someone that really sees you.
I want to talk about that for a second because that's a theme that I've seen for years. I cannot tell you, the biggest path that happens with me is people will flirt with me, women will flirt with me, get in my DMs, and they'll be the compliments, right? You're so outspoken, you're so masculine, this and that. And then you'll see the almost like it is disrespect. You know, I wish my husband was that, blah, 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 blah. And there are times, 100% when I'm a scumbag, and I will take advantage of that for sexual entertainment, right? Could be sexting, could be pictures, could be this, could be that. Because I know that somebody is looking for attention, right? And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to give you attention. You're going to give me this in return. But I can't tell you how many times it's turned into a conversation where we both talk about we're sapiophiles. And it's like, I love knowing what makes a woman tick. So what's your, in some general sense, what's your biggest fantasy? And then they'll say, well, I have a rape fetish, or I want to be in a gangbang, or I want this and I want that. And does your husband know? Oh God, no, I could never tell him. Then you married the wrong man. And I used to sit there and think that that's the guy's responsibility a little bit for not offering a safe space for a woman to say that. But I think it's both people's faults because, again, I just posted this the other day, that my conversation, the first conversation a woman is interested in me is, hey, this is what I'm into. Because I'm not about to go 3 months, 6 months, a year, and then say, hey, I want this tonight, and then them freak out and say, oh my God, if you had told me that, I never would have been involved with you. But how do people come to terms with either pre-relationship or existing relationship? All right, there's some stuff I want to explore, and if I talk to my spouse, I could lose them. If I talk to my significant other who I'm interested in, I could lose them. Should they suppress that, or should they just risk the loss, and what's the consequence of either?
Well, for you come in with a lot of confidence, and that's why you're able to say exactly what you're not desperate. So that's where a lot of it comes from. Again, you mentioned women having these issues and the man should bring it out. I actually see it more in men not being able to tell the women in their life, or even just in the dating process. They have to suppress this little monster they think they have inside them because they are so desperate just to get laid or to get in that relationship. So it's a learned behavior over time. You are not desperate for a sexual experience. So you're able to put it right out there and knock it out right away. Hey, this is what I am. If you don't like it, next. But how many people in the world do not have the options that you and I have sexually? Honestly, it's a majority of people. So they have to learn this behavior of just basically people pleasing to get in the door. Now, there's a difference with people who are married and over time they develop a new fetish or new interest. And it's unfortunate that they don't feel comfortable enough to have those discussions. I don't know if that's something that can be taught to someone. Communication is one of the hardest things that people will deal with in marriages. But for overall, that's been the theme I saw on my years online was men who could not communicate to their partners what really got them off. And they had to dive deep onto the internet and start doing some weird shit to get off.
100%. And I experienced that. I've told this story before. So when I was very early 20s, I did get involved in lifestyle. I was the single male, right? And it would be with the wives, husband watched, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. I didn't understand to begin with. And I remember was an older couple. I was in my 20s, they were in their 40s. And, I asked the guy for some strange reason, I'm like, How do you enjoy this? I don't comprehend this because I was having a hard time with it going, am I really getting pleasure? Or for me, it was a conquest, right? For me, and I know it was, here's a guy who's got this unbelievably hot wife who's MILF, older, this and that, and I get it. No. He let you have it, right? And then the guy was great. He said, this is my object of affection. This is my love. This is my world. And I get to see her have physical pleasure. It's no different than her having a piece of pizza or seeing a movie and me watching her enjoy this. Mm-hmm. The second I understood that, there was no threatening this and that. I remember I was dating a girl for a substantial amount of time. And I'm like, I think I want, and it was before. So that was before I was dating her. So I want to clarify I wasn't cheating on her during the time. But I remember bringing it up. I'm like, we're 6 months into it or something. I'm like, hey, I think I want X, Y, and Z. And she was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And immediately,
a common response.
Right. That's why. So, and I understood immediately what you women go through trying to spice things up by you go out, you get the lingerie, you come home, you put it on, husband's watching TV and he goes, oh yeah, that's nice. It's not the reaction you want. You're not going to do the effort again. With guys, I think we're so ashamed of, and guys have some fucked up kinky stuff, right? So, and I think women's are more so, but on the male's perspective, we don't want to bring it in to be judged because we'll feel emasculated. You'll then, the risk of you not being attracted to us because you can't believe we would want something like that. We can't communicate our desires. I know exactly what I want, what I want, and I communicate that, but that's why men then cheat, go online, go to strip clubs, get hookers. That's 100% correct. How can women come to terms with their man wanting something else, something more? How can they react? And then I'm going to flip that on you and say, how can you have women articulate to their men, and how can men react to prevent that from happening?
Well, let's acknowledge that men and women are just wired differently, really. And as far as how we desire, men are able, I think personally, to compartmentalize having multiple partners in a way that many women can't. Not to say that not all women can do that, but I think it's much easier for a man to go and fuck a chick tomorrow, go back to her wife the next day, and it's no way an issue. Women tend to emotionally cheat far before they would physically cheat. And like you're saying, how does a man explain this to his chick? I mean, you're really risking the fact that she's now not going to trust you. If you tell her you want to bring another woman in or you want to watch her get fucked, if she's not into that and you can't explain it the right way, you're now going to have trust issues, and you can't get over that part. So acknowledging, are you in a relationship with someone that is able to really understand how to compartmentalize that? That's a really, really hard thing to find. Now you say on the flip side, how can a man speak to a woman? Is that what you're asking?
Right. I want to know if you're gonna educate both roles, gendered roles, and you're gonna say, all right, guy's got something in his head that he wants to bring to his wife and he doesn't know how. And we can break this down into 4 components. So from a male's point of view, let me ask you this: am I doing the right thing? You're interested in me, conversation 1. I'm like, listen, if you're interested in me, great. You've seen my political views. You've seen my social views. You've seen my ambition, all this stuff. I'm into X, Y, and Z. Do I do that right off the bat, meaning correctly off the bat, by giving you this information about me and giving you an opportunity to say, oh, he's into this? I don't know if I will. Or should I wait for 3 weeks, 3 months to go down the road? So am I doing it correctly?
So for me, I can understand why you do it the way that you do. I think it depends on what you're interested from that particular person. When being so abrupt and so straightforward sexually with someone right out the gate, I feel like that person now feels like they're put into that category of just a hookup. Mm-hmm. By being so straightforward that, hey, I need to have multiple partners. This is what I'm into in my sexual desires and my kink. You've now taken them out of the category of this is someone that I want to be with in a romantic way, and we have a long-term, option down the road.
No, I also explain it. I say this can only happen if it's a deep-rooted, committed, 100% committed relationship. I don't have casual sex.
There's no right or wrong answer here because, again, if someone's going to take it the wrong way, then they're not that right person for you.
100%. So how does a man bring that up into an established, committed relationship? All of a sudden, he saw something on TV and he wants to tie your arms behind your back and tie your legs and blindfold you, throw you into a trunk and take you to a warehouse somewhere where there's 6 guys waiting and their wives all have video cameras, which, by the way, I've seen.
Again, no right or wrong answer. There are going to be relationships where a man can turn to his wife and be like, that looks fucking cool. Let's go for that. And there are men that can't even turn to their wife and say, hey, I want to spank you a little bit. That's just, again, that comes down to how they started that relationship and how that communication was formed from the get-go. I don't know how to help people in that sense. I was speaking to a 25-year-old kid the other day who had just proposed to his girlfriend. And he was telling me how he's got all of these kinks that she doesn't know about, but she's the one. And I go,
Oh,
well,
man.
if she was the one, you wouldn't be hiding this from her. Well, it's not hiding. It's just what I really like. And this, if she doesn't know this about you and you don't feel comfortable, yeah, you are not happy. This is not the one for you. But we get stuck in our head. Well, this is the right person because it looks a certain way. They're in this, again, putting people into this certain box. It's just a hard thing to express to people, that really being able to come out and really be open and really open up that part of you that's so vulnerable. That's where you're going to truly be happy.
Do you think that when women who are into this, I keep seeing a lot of online claims, right? The biggest thing now is that the porn industry is all human trafficking, and that no porn, coming from a Catholic and Christian background, porn is just pure evil because it corrupts you and this and that kind of stuff. And women 100% are not like that in the porn industry. Do you agree?
No, I don't agree with that at all.
I want to start with this for a little bit.
I've spoken at length with many porn stars. I think we talked about in the DM. I had spoken to Brandy Love, and she's very open that she's in the lifestyle. She loves to have multiple partners, her and her husband, and that's a mature agreement they have. That is not where one's hiding it from the other. They looked at each other and said, "Hey, this is what I'm into. I respect that. Let's do it together." So that's bullshit to say that all women are completely not into it and it's human trafficking and every woman's forced into this situation. It's always some sort of mental abuse. That's bullshit. Do I think a lot of girls follow into it at an age where they're too young to really know what they want, and later on in life it does mentally affect them? Absolutely.
How do we come to terms with the fact that women who are in that position to be so comfortable with their sexuality, it is more powerful than men? A man's anatomy is designed to give. A woman's energy is designed to receive. So when you have a woman who's like, I want to get fucked and blah, 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 she's in massive power and control. Like I explain to women, one of the things that turns me on in the concept of what's called the hot wife lifestyle, which is the antithesis of cuckold. Cuckold, for those who don't know, is your man is insulted, degraded, this and that. Hot wife is, I'm going to tell you you're going to do this, and you're going to ask permission. I'm going to give you instruction, all this stuff. I like a submissive woman to me, but the arousal is I like a woman to dominate and treat other men like they are her fucking slaves. That being said, if a woman treated me like that, it's like no fucking arousal. So I understand I've got some issues in my head working out, but I also see her as far more powerful in a position to dominate men with this sexuality. How do men come to terms with women who are in like a Brandy Love, who are so sexually powerful? It exceeds a man's because now they're switching a role. How powerful are these women, and how do men accept those women? How do they just accept them? Are they equals? Does it raise a man's standard to be more of a man? How do you see that?
Do you think there is an issue accepting women like that?
Oh, I fucking love it. No.
See, I feel like there's a genre for each. There's a huge community of men that worship it. That's their thing. And like I said, there's a huge community that don't. So I don't know it's about teaching anyone. This is just a matter of preference. I also think it's not mentioned enough that most sexual situations, the woman is the one that has to say yes or no. Besides the issue of rape, like real rape, most sexual encounters, the man is begging for it. Every woman has to give him the green light. Every woman has more power than she realizes in every sexual situation.
How do they leverage that without leveraging it? I mean, we hear it all the time. We hear jokes all the time. Oh, you keep his man's stomach full and his balls empty and he won't cheat. But a lot of women still today, it is I'm going to leverage that power over you. Right. If we go back to our background, the Bible says you're supposed to submit to your partner, both man and woman. How do we come to terms with that in today?
Oh, I feel like women right now have just completely played the victim role and are just ruining sexuality and ruining masculinity in every way. Every woman is acting like the victim and everything sexual, acting like anything that's natural for a man and his sexuality is evil. And it's just, again, it's creating such a big divide now. And it's actually pushing men even deeper and darker sexually.
How so?
From my time online, again, I saw all these men that were told that it was just, again, if you compliment a woman, that's negative. The whole Me Too movement, anything, again, where a man just complimented you, looked at you, hit on you, that's all considered negative. Anything that turned them on that was dirty. And they're diving onto the internet, speaking to cam models, hookers, having sex dolls, because that's the only thing that won't tell them no, and that they're a piece of shit.
I want to go down the path a little bit more too, as far as going back to one of the biggest issues is the desensitization, right? So you're gonna get on porn, you can't wind up climaxing because this desensitizes you. Can that also be looked at? There's vanilla, right? Missionary position every Friday night after dinner with the lights off, we're done. Is there danger with exploring porn and becoming more desensitized so that you explore more? So now all of a sudden it's like Friday and then it's after dinner, but now we're on the balcony with a spotlight on us and you're still my partner, but now we're taking it to a more enjoyable level. Do you see this claim of desensitization? Is it true, or can it be a different avenue to explore more stuff with your committed partner?
Exploring is one thing, trying new things is one thing, but when it becomes a fetish, because I think with the definition of fetish is you can't actually climax without it, right? Isn't that what makes it a fetish?
I don't know.
Okay, well, from what I've heard, there's trying new things and watching new things, but then when you have to only have this guideline and able to climax, that's now a fetish. So yeah, I think it gets a little dangerous when now you have so much access now and things are getting a little bit more twisted that I think it's more often than not you see these people who are stuck. Like I can't have an orgasm unless I have a foot in my mouth and a fucking this in my ear. But with couples exploring, I don't see anything wrong with that whatsoever. I don't think that's dangerous. These are two people deciding together to go explore. But when you talk about people who are alone, like a guy who's getting stuck into this fetish world by himself, it's now going to make it so much harder for him to date in society and find someone that can actually see his real fetish and appreciate it.
100%. That's speaking from experience. Going back to that, I never like to make my air quotes sin fit the narrative of Scripture, right? I never want to say, okay, well, I can eat this on meat on Fridays, and that's a Catholic crap thing. The Bible clearly talks about sexual sin, sexual immorality, and I struggle with this all the time, where it's like, what is it? Because there are sometimes it doesn't clearly say. And I have a friend of mine who has said that like the Psalm of Solomon which I haven't read, is all about sex and your partner. And I've read that there's scripture, and again, I'm cherry picking, but I can't even quote it right now because I wasn't going to think we were going to talk about this. But like nothing can corrupt the marriage bed. Have you ever explored that, where you come from a Catholic background and then you're in this with your marriage, or you're exploring this, and then the guilt kicks in because if you're Italian, you've got that guilt. Did you ever sit there and try to determine, all right, what fits in the parameters of what biblically defines as sex between man and a woman? Because there's times I'm like, well, if nothing corrupts the marriage bed and you're married and you both agree to a lifestyle type of relationship, can't that be still allowed in the relationship? So I'm wondering what your views are on that, because you have that background.
I've battled many people online regarding these topics because there's things that I'm comfortable with again, because I was married to someone, I felt like this is fine. If we're agreeing to do this, this is our choice. We're not cheating on each other. We're not hurting anyone else. This is between a man and a woman in the sanctity of their bedroom. But because a lot of my stuff was viewed online, people thought that was a sin. How can I have any sort of morals with the fact that I'm willing to put myself out there? The fact that I'm a married woman and people can see me naked, again, another huge sin, that no man should be able to share his wife sexually like this. I just thought, well, no one's touching me. I'm not doing anything wrong. And that just came down to, again, these were other people's issues, not mine. And at the end of the day, I can't change other people's opinions. As long as I know and my husband knows that we're not hurting anyone, that's where it ends.
What is your views on like the lifestyle? There was a video, I think it was on HBO years and years ago, and there's a clip of it on YouTube, the Christian swingers. What are your views on stuff like that? Do you think that, like, someone like me who says that they're into this stuff, am I completely going against what we're told, or is it? Are you going to default to to each his own?
It's not my lifestyle. I've met people who are so happy in it, so happy. Like they really, they thrive in it. I've also seen so many couples where it destroyed them completely. It's obviously a lot harder in a Christian mentality where, you're not supposed to go outside of your marriage. For me, I have a harder time understanding Christians sharing partners. Catholic religion, I don't know any Catholics that are in the lifestyle. No,
it's all guilt, right? And I don't think they even have sex with their spouses.
Again, the lifestyle thing for some people, it really, they just view sex in a different way. Sex isn't, it's just an action as opposed to like necessarily a huge emotional connection. Like for me, I couldn't have sex outside of my husband because that is just for him. And that is my connection to him. That's how I show love. In the lifestyle, this is not a love act, correct?
Right, correct. Yeah, and I understand that. Like a lot of women are when I talk about it, like, does this mean you want multiple women? And I'm like, no. Believe it or not, I can't get off with another woman. I'm all about the visual of my partner, so it's 100% about spoiling you. Talk about what do you think the dangers of social media are doing to sexuality, well, especially with all these young girls who are up. It blows me away. I go on social media accounts, and I'm always looking at what somebody does, and I'll see these women up there who have zero discernible skills. Nothing but posing for the camera, selfies, bikinis, this and that. Click on their link tree. No OnlyFans, but you'll see a Cash App or a PayPal. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Women can just put pictures out there and men who are stupid will just send them money. Is that
why is that stupid?
No, it's stupid because we can't do the same. I mean, I'm sure I can.
That's not true.
No, I'm sure I can focus down in Boys Town, get some bears and cubs who love me. But
no, there's a huge market for men in the OnlyFans and cam world. It's obviously a lot smaller. The men don't make nearly as much money. But
I'm just talking about the women who do not. They don't put any. There's no OnlyFans. There's no pictures of anything. You literally will go up their stuff and they'll have a Cash App or a PayPal. That's it. Now, am I wrong in assuming that they're just like, hey, and support me for putting up my Instagram content? Or is there underlying where they're like, okay, I'm going to give you something for giving me money? Or
it could be the fact that once you start speaking to them on the Cash App, then they could express another way to get to their secret OnlyFans. I mean, there's a lot of different roads that we could go down here. There's a form of fetish called like pay pigs, where men just give you money with nothing in exchange. They'll literally send you like their credit card information, their bank account, and the girls can just go take it. I never personally experienced that, but I've heard all about it. And again, this goes into so many fetishes. Then there's just kids or men online that in any way that they can get some personal attention. So if they sent that girl a Cash App, then she finally responded to his message on Instagram, and that's all they wanted. So it doesn't always have to be in exchange for nude material for it to make sense. But what you were going down, I think you were saying these girls had no skills otherwise. That is really sad to me.
Well, how are they? This is a new generation. How do the people who just post bikini stuff up? And you notice, I was talking to somebody the other day about this. Almost 90% of these women who post pictures or really, really short videos, there's nothing where they speak about themselves. There's no dialogue at all. And it's just like, I have to wonder what these people are like in the context of being across the table from them. So what happens to these people and what happens to the perception that they're giving for men? How much danger are we causing men that this is what I want?
It forces, men end up compartmentalizing these women because they see this picture of the girl in the bikini and it sexualizes them immediately. And they're unable to look at these people as whole human beings. Like you're saying, what's this person? They never actually have a conversation. They don't have anything on there. So it does create a danger where men are unable to treat women with some respect as a whole human being. And it goes again for both sides. Women are unable to treat men with any respect anymore. They just assume that they're all just pigs who just want to look at their naked photos.
Well, we kind of do. How do women take advantage of that power and balance it?
How do they take advantage of it?
How do they take advantage of it to build themselves, right? So 21-year-old you is today, right? You're 21 years old, you're not 40, and you're going to say, okay, everybody's on Instagram. I've got a body. I've got a look. I could do this. How would you balance I guess it would be almost like camming today to keep yourself aligned and then not leave yourself aging out of a cam profession.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of these girls age out. A lot of these girls don't understand the business aspect to it because they start bringing in all this money and they're not paying their taxes correctly. For the ones that have the intelligence in there, they learn a lot about business and they age out by then starting new businesses and marketing because it's like multi-level marketing. So a lot of them end up finding the next step out, or they marry someone with money or someone wealthy. Like I said, I was 35 when I started doing this. It wasn't that long ago that I was in this realm, and I definitely took advantage of everything I could. But I learned so much about business, so I was able to spiral that into a clothing line and all these other things. So there's a lot to learn from that world.
Did you enjoy? Did you? Go ahead. Go. What hurt you?
What kind of hurt me was putting my personality into it later.
Meaning what?
Once I was the oldest one on the site. I was this girl who had a mouth otter, and I wouldn't pretend to like you. I wasn't a dom or anything. I just wouldn't pretend like I was interested in you because we were on this website. I was very straightforward. I was like, I'm naked. You'd like to pay me for I'm naked. This is a business transaction. That's fine. Once I started talking about my social and political views, that's what actually hurt my business. And that's when I started losing the followers.
Because they just wanted to see visual.
They wanted you to pretend to be the little sexy vixen. So now I'm adding that depth to the personality. And for some people, that really ruined it.
How are there not more? There has to be more men that are like, thank God. Because I said before the show, I said, if you can get my brain and cock both turned on, then it's a good episode.
There's definitely a huge chunk of men that love it, but it's polarizing now. And for most part, anyone that's successful on social media, you kind of need to stay a little vague. Like you said, these girls don't put too much opinion on there. That's how you hit millions of followers. It's, I'm polarizing. you're going to be turned on by my pictures, or you're going to love the fact that I have all these opinions.
I would think that's what men want. At least a man like me that wants it, right? We want that a woman who is strong, because that brings out a dominating side of us, and we want a woman who's strong sexually.
You're confident.
I guess so. You said you were talking to a 25-year-old. Do you mentor people in this aspect?
That was actually an in-person conversation of someone who was friends with my husband. But I used to mentor a lot of people. I used to help girls get onto OnlyFans. I used to talk to even men that wanted to start camming. And I used to try to tell them more so I would tell them how to do the business aspect, because people get in a lot of trouble with the IRS not handling it correctly when all that money starts coming in. There's girls making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on there. And if you don't know how to tuck away for the money for the IRS, they're going to come and knock in.
What's your advice for people who are going to start? I don't see a problem with women exploring themselves sexually, because it's how things are right now, right? If you can only live in a desert island without a cell phone to avoid sexual sin, because you log on your social media and there's somebody with cleavage sticking out. So if we're going to embrace this, how do you advise women to explore this and not lose themselves?
Number one, they need to be very careful about their real identity. There's a lot of danger into diving into this world. There's a lot of horrible people on the internet. So that's the number one piece of advice I always tell them, is to really protect who they are on the internet. Two, I always make sure to let them know that you don't always have to say yes. As you start diving into this world, you're very naive. You don't know what you're supposed to be doing. Obviously, these girls are in it for money at the beginning. I said, make sure that you set up what you're comfortable with right out the gate, and try to stick to that. It will change over time, but in the beginning, be very careful, because that's, again, how you get taken advantage of, and that's how it can scar them. And then as far as financially, I just tell them really to make sure they put the money aside, and you can start like a single entity corporation, maybe speak to a tax advisor to help them protect themselves financially.
What's the exit plan? Do you tell women, hey, give yourself this amount of time? Because I remember before I was a cop, I was a bartender, and I tested, got hired, and I'm like, do I really want to leave all this really, really insane money and go being a career? And how many strippers, did I know back then that never want to leave the industry because the money was so damn good? Should people have an exit strategy?
I would love for everyone to have an exit strategy. I didn't have one. I was like you when I was younger. I worked in high-end nightclubs all over the country, some of the biggest in the world. And I was making hundreds of thousands of dollars by the age of 21. So I've always made a ton of money. And then I jumped into a field. I taught Pilates for a while. There was no money in that. That was hard, but it was fulfilling. And then when I jumped into cam again, that was a huge chunk of money, and my lifestyle just kind of shot up. It was hard to wind that down, and I had to do it over time.
What made you wind it down? Why not just not keep going with it?
I really didn't actually love it. I loved being able to talk to people. I love that I had created this brand. And I love that I was making money. I was more interested in really studying people's brains on there. And I love the business aspect of it. But the act of getting nude for strangers on the internet is really not something that feeds my ego.
You remember? Do you remember Naked News?
No.
Oh my gosh, you should totally do naked rants. You should make it a political ranting show where you're nude.
I would love to be able to have the next step of something where I'm in front of the screen. But again, with the nudity, I have to understand also that I have kids and they're getting older, and the internet, you can't hide shit on the internet.
It's forever.
Yeah. I have a company that takes down my content every day, and I'm trying to just slowly phase that out. So that was another big reason as to why I had to stop.
All right. So outside of that, then how do you reinvent yourself? So what is the next, what is the next, or what you had to have felt some pull to go, okay, this ran its course. Now this, How do you prevent, you're not somebody, you're like me. We don't fade off into existence. We go to the next thing. So what was the next thing and how are you reinventing yourself now?
Really, I started to see how much people appreciated my rants on social issues. And they respected what I had to say. They liked the way that I had to say it because I had a kind of a fuck you attitude. I'm not going to bow down to society's rules now if you can't say it this way. So for me, the way that I phase into that next step for me is just being unapologetic. These people that cower down and apologize for their past because other people don't like it, that's when you fail in my eyes. So again, I own what I've done. I have no apologies for what I've done. It was a great experience for me. This is what I want to do now. If you don't like that, you don't have to watch. Don't give a fuck.
Do you think that gives you more power where someone's like, oh my God, you were naked online? You're like, yeah. So no,
absolutely. Self-deprecating humor is my biggest strength. I'll bring it up first. I'll point out first. Now you have no power. Where are you going to go?
Then we do have a lot of similarities.
Exactly.
100%. I used to love when women would go, you probably have a small dick, do you? And I'm like, yeah, it'll satisfy me. I used to love that shit. So talk about the future. Let's talk about some solutions, right? We have to come up with solutions society-wise. We can even go into relationship-wise, and people wind up embracing sexual energy. If you are the world's mentor and you're like, my God, I want to see things change, what now are you currently passionate about in helping people kind of wake up or improve on?
I would love to see people to learn to be a little bit more comfortable with communicating their wants and needs with partners. Like you said, you're asked if it was wrong for you to introduce these things right away when you meet someone. I wish more people would do that. Wish less people would be so desperate to have that human connection and be straightforward with what they want. And it would save so many people these wasted times of relationships. I would love for people to communicate more. So I try to help people do that. At least that's what I think I do.
Do you think that, do you see, you talking about the desperate for human connections, relationships, I see that a lot of people fall into that marriage category for that. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm 35, I need to get married. Oh my gosh, my clock is ticking, I need to get married. How do you see the waiting in any realm, male or female, and discovering who they are before they get involved? Like the 25-year-old, if he knows who he is, he's got to explain that who he is. How essential do you think that is that people do before they ruin, or could they ruin someone else's life?
I will tell every man I come across, and my child at the right age, as a man specifically, I think every man should wait as long as they possibly can to really dive into a marriage. Because again, men's desire sexually, it's just science and in nature. They just got to stick it in everything. Go fuck a redhead, go fuck a large girl, go fuck a skinny girl, go get it out of your system. So when that testosterone starts to calm down around 40, you're really ready to look at someone for who they are deep down inside and find that connection. And you're never going to live that what if scenario. I think that ruins a lot of marriages where men married too soon, they fell into something. And by the age of 40, they're like, I could have gone and done all of these other things. So for men specifically, I really think it's better for them to wait till they're about 40 till they even consider marriage.
Society wants to change that, right? We got the Me Too movement, toxic masculinity. Do you know who Andrew Tate is, right?
Absolutely.
And then you've seen Drew Afalalo?
I don't know that I have seen that one.
Oh, Drew, it's a woman, Drew Afalalo. Oh. She's the female Andrew Tate. So when I started doing some of this content on TikTok, I would do a video I did that launched the TikTok and God Created a Woman page was I said that no man will be loved more by a woman than at the moment he says, I'm in love with you, that he puts it all on the table and he commits it. It could be 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, but that precipice is right to that point where because she's wondering and a little bit insecure. And is he going to leave? The second he says that, it's a power change where he gives all the control up because he's finally vulnerable. And then it could be 10 years, could be 10 months, but over time, just a little bit, she starts just losing a little bit because it's complacency and comfort and all that. And my God, the amount of women who hated that video. First of all, it was polarizing.
I love that concept, and I totally agree with that.
Polarizing. Men were like 100%. Women, a majority of what women did was tag Drew Afalalo in this video. So I had to go look her up. 6 million followers. All she does was she would take a video like mine and duet it and then start attacking, like fat shaming, gray hair shaming. Right. So she's the female Drew Afalalo, or she's the female Andrew Tate. So why is this that we live in a society where men, you can fat shame, I can't. I'll get swarmed by a bunch of fucking women and beta men who just want the women to praise them. But but women can do this. Do you still see a problem with this double standard where Andrew Taylor got canceled?
Absolutely. 100%. I can't stand it. I'm even told that I'm a misogynist by all these women because I look back and I go, you should be treating these people the same. It's not okay for a woman. It's just like, again, with BLM and everything with race right now, where it's okay for you to be racist against a white person. They say it's not actually racist against a white person. You can only be racist against a black person. It's the same exact deal. And I can't stand any of it. I think it's all a load of shit.
Do we need more masculinity? Do we need to go back to it?
Absolutely. I have more masculinity than 90% of these kids on social media right now.
Should we go back to the days of men looking at women going, mine, clubbing you over the head and dragging you off to a cave?
It worked for me in my marriage.
Oh, there you go. Well, okay, what does he do? What are some successful attributes that he does that men who are listening to this, or women, because there's going to be women who listen to this, oh my God, her husband does this. And then how do they get their husband to do what yours does?
I don't know that you can get your husband to do it. My husband's just an extremely confident human being. I'm a very confident woman, and I come with a whole persona and all these followers online. And when I met him, he was just not impressed by it. He literally, he's like, can I see your Instagram? I show you. He goes, no, I want to see your real one, like with your kids and stuff. I don't care about your bikini pictures. And he even, the minute I knew he was flirting with me was when he looked at me, he goes, you're really not that hot. I laughed out loud. So he was just not impressed by any of those things that make everybody else swoon. That was strength to me. He'll tell me no. I love being told no, because you know what? No one else tells me no.
Yeah, you have a husband who acts like a man.
He is a man in every way.
I was talking to the interview yesterday. It was, I asked her flat out, you're into this, she's into a BDSM lifestyle. And I said, does it take away from you? Because she's like, I want to be told what to wear. I want to be told where we're going to dinner. She's very alpha in her day job, but she's very submissive. Not. And I said, does it take away if you have to tell someone, hey, by the way, this is what I want you to do? Or do women still want men to be mind readers, to be like, figure it out, figure it out. Should women be able to say, I want you to come home from work and I want you to say, where's dinner? I want you to do this. Should women be leading men to fulfill their needs more?
I don't think that's a man or woman thing at all. I think in every relationship, you should be able to have that conversation. I can see how she could get turned off if every single time she had to re-explain that he needs to tell her what to do. But again, that's part of that adult conversation of, hey, this is what I really enjoy. I would love for you to tell me how to do these things. And then she's not losing any power in that sense. She's communicated clearly her needs, and hopefully he can in return do the same thing. And that goes man or woman.
Goes right back to communication then. Do you think that those marriages that go, I don't know, 5-10 years and couples are having sex once every 3 months on special occasions, she only gives him head on his birthdays, do you think that they could be saved with communication?
I would like to think that they could, if they can find it takes finding the right therapist usually, although I'm not a huge fan of therapy. It's probably a very hard road to go down to make up for that much time. And also it's timing. Are you both ready in that time to really do the work, to see each other and put in that kind of vulnerability?
Why not therapy? I'm not a fan of it because I think that we all have our own self capabilities, but why do you not a fan of therapy?
The only time I've experienced it twice. And one, I had to go back and re-experience issues in my life that I had been okay with. I had dealt with them in my own way, and maybe I compartmentalized them, but I was now being forced to revisit them and review them in ways that were actually causing me more pain in that moment. And that didn't seem to help me. It actually caused me more issues from that. And the second time I went through it, they just kind of yes me to death. Well, what are you feeling? And how do you want to react to that? And I go, you're not giving me anything. You're mirroring me.
Oh, no, I think 100% that therapists are there either to get off or to project their own problems on their patients.
And sometimes, again, lingering on these moments creates that victim mentality of, yeah, that's why I feel this way. And I'm just going to keep holding on to that. I am not into that victim mentality. But again, you and I have this strong mental kind of capability that not everybody just has naturally.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where that's from. It's the same thing as going to, like, I have a friend of mine who's sober 15 years, but he's an alcoholic. And it hit me the other day. I did an interview with somebody a couple weeks ago. I'm like, wait a minute. What do they do at AA? Hi, I'm Dominic Izzo. I'm 15 years sober and I'm an alcoholic. They're reinforcing that negative behavior. You're literally saying it. And we know that you're anchoring it. So you're repeating trauma. It's absolutely ridiculous. All right.
But again, that works for some people. So,
which is ridiculous. All right. Let's close this out with
okay.
What are you passionate about in this particular moment? What season are you going through? What are you ranting about? What are you talking about? And how can people follow you?
I think the next step is actually to do my own podcast where I want to talk about things kind of like you, sexuality, life, relationships, social issues. And that's really something I'm going to ramp up in the next few months here.
And then where can people follow you and how can they support you?
I am only now on Instagram. TikTok deleted me, had 90-something thousand followers and banned me. So I am the Ranting Queen on Instagram.
You have a lot to talk about. You need to start that podcast going. Good. All right, we'll have you on for another conversation. Guys, and God Created a Woman show. You guys enjoy it. Make sure you hit that like button, follow button, subscribe button, share this, get this out, and we'll keep talking about the stuff. You guys have a great damn day.
Thank you.